Welcome to the lair of Voltaire. Today is the day. Today is the day Black Labyrinth comes out. Can I get an air hoop? Thank you, Hanu Brennan Damon. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the lair of Voltaire. And welcome to the December 2022 video newsletter. It has been several months since there's been a video newsletter, which should probably tell you what my life's been like for the last few months. Before we get into anything, notice at the sign, the ticker at the bottom that says, please hold your questions to the end. Sometimes people like to send super stickers and super chats, and I appreciate all of that. But if there's a question attached, I'm usually not even looking at the comments until we get to the Q&A part, because there's so much to get through. So please hold your questions to the end. I will try to get to a bunch of them at the end. Now, we've got through that part. Most important, well, how do we start every video newsletter? We start with where am I playing near you? And before we get to that, tonight is an auspicious occasion. Today is the release of the Black Labyrinth album that I've been working on for 3 years with 15 members of David Bowie's band and a whole bunch of incredible guest artists. There's new merch in the merch store. There's a new Gothic homemaking episode coming. There is a lot to cover. But first, as always, where am I playing? Near you. Dallas, Texas. That's it. Dallas, Texas. I am performing New Year's Eve in Dallas, Texas, at House of Blues, you know, for my good friends, the Church Dallas. Those of you who have come and seen me in Dallas many, many times have probably seen me at the church or at their other venue, It'll Do. And they've invited me to perform at the House of Blues, which sounds like a really fun, exciting time. Tickets are available. As always, you know, I got a little banner for this. Where's my banner? Here he goes. Concert details at voltaire.net/calendar. Please come and see me. This is literally the last show of 2022, and I would love to see you there. I've got to tell you, 2022 has been quite a year for shows. How can I prove that to you? Well, I can show you this image. Boop. Oh, I got to get this banner out of the way. Look at this. These are the shows that I performed in 2022. I counted them just before I went live. It's 40 shows. So if you came to any of these shows, there's something I have to tell you. And that is, thank you. Thank you. You kept me in business this year. Thank you for coming out to the shows. Thank you for buying a ticket and supporting and buying some merch. You, like I said, you kept me in business. Another year, I get to wake up and make music and stay in this crazy, crazy game called life, the life of an artist, making art and bringing it to people who are interested in that art. So thank you so much for being a part of that. And I've already got 2 shows booked for 2023, Seattle and Portland. And those are going to be in April. There's going to be, I'm going to try to top 2022 in 2023. I'm going to try to play more than 40 shows. I always say I play every weekend of the year, which is clearly not true if I didn't do 52 shows. I'm going to try to get it up to 52 shows in 2023. I'm going to try. And there's so many cities that people write to me from that I just do not perform at for one reason or another. You know, I just don't, there's no promoters there who are interested. And you know, we're going to try to change that in 2023. So, you know, places like Detroit and Chicago, where, believe it or not, if I look at Spotify and I say, where do people listen to my music the most? Chicago is the #1 city. And somehow I didn't get around to playing Chicago this year. So Chicago, maybe Pittsburgh, San Diego, I don't know why I can never make it work in San Diego. I've been trying to make San Diego work. And then all the, the usual suspects, of course. I know San Francisco. I haven't played in San Francisco in a long time. Haven't played in El Paso. Okay, Houston. What's up with Houston? I literally play in Dallas 4 times a year. And Houston, crickets. Don't know why. Like, did I step on someone's winkle picker in Houston? I have no idea. Going to try to make Houston work. So I don't know. I'm just going to really, really stretch in 2023. That's one of my goals, is to really stretch and to just get into more places, play in more cities. Who knows? Maybe European European tour would be great. It's been a long time since I've played in Europe. In any case, so that's what's going on with shows. So come see me New Year's Eve at the House of Blues in Dallas, Texas. Funny story about that show. So I literally played in Dallas 3 times this year, literally. So I played at the church, and I played at the Witches Ball in Arlington, 15 minutes from where the church is. And I played in Mansfield, Texas at Steampunk November, which is like half an hour away from Dallas. So really like 3 Dallas area shows. And I received a message from the church Dallas. They were like, hey, we really want you to play our New Year's Eve party. And I was like, I was literally just there. Nobody's going to want to come see me on New Year's Eve. They're like, come on, please come do this. And I was like, well, look, I'd love to, but I can't because I'll be on vacation. Now, when you play nearly every single weekend of the year, and you're making an album and you're making videos and you're making merch and you're doing all this stuff, you might imagine that when it's time for, like when it's vacation time, you want to get really serious about vacation time. So I was like, no, I planned a vacation with my fiance and her family. And they were like, we will fly you back from the jungles of Mexico to do this show. So I will literally be on the border of Mexico and Guatemala like hours before New Year's Eve. And then I will fly to Dallas and I'll play in Dallas for New Year's Eve. And then it's back to the jungle. I need my jungle time. If I don't get my jungle time, I just get in a very, very dark place from all of the stress and anxiety of not just work, but all the social media, all that social media that just beats on your soul. But we all have to do it. If you're not on Sony or EMI or, one of the big record labels, you're doing your own social media. And I'm sure you all know how brutal that can get. I need my jungle time. So this is just to show you how much I love the church Dallas. I am going to let them cut into my jungle time. All right, so now moving on, let us talk a little bit about the New York Times. Oh, I was going to set this up so that I could show you. Let me see if this works. Give me a second to do some typing here. New York Times. Yeah, okay. All right, this might work. Let's see if this works. I'm really working on the fly here. Okay, it's a goth thing. Meet the Martha Stewart for macabre homemakers. Through his Gothic homemaking YouTube series, Aurelio Voltaire has become a lifestyle guru for people who embrace spookiness in all seasons. That was in the New York Times. And there's a whole article, of course. That's just the headline. I have a copy right here. It's not every day I get to wake up with my fiance and then go have brunch and pick up the New York Times on the way. Look at this ugly mug. Look at that. Oh, it's in the paper, the headline was different. Online where they were sure I was going to see it, it was really cool. In the paper, it says, Goth died 30 years ago, but this wanker still thinks it's cool. What? That's not what it says. It's what it should have said. It says, people are comfortable with his macabre style. Okay. But yeah, this was so cool to be featured in the New York Times. I honestly thought the only time I'd ever be featured in the New York Times would be for my obituary. But there I am at the Lair of Voltaire. There's 2 pages. There's another one here somewhere. Where's the rest of this article? Oh, there it is. What does it say? At home with his macabre style. At home with his macabre style. Written backwards for those of you who love reading stuff backwards. That was really, really lovely. And I got so much attention for that, which is crazy because, I've been making Gothic homemaking since 2016, and it is a thankless job, my friends. It is a thankless job. I spend so much money working on Gothic homemaking, and I fly all over the world to shoot episodes. And then it comes out and it's like crickets, Some episodes, best of Halloween home decor, was amazing. It was the first episode this year, back in October, and had like 90,000 views. I was like, all right, we're on to something here. And then the most recent one that I did, which was her first jack-o'-lantern carving, has 7,000 views. This live stream will have more than 7,000 views. And it's just me talking into a camera. So, sometimes I do have those moments, I will admit, where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, so few people seem to be into this. And then once in a while, it's the algorithm. I'm telling you right now, it's the algorithm. You just never know what the hell the algorithm wants from you. It changes every single day. It's like one day you'll hear people saying, oh, the algorithm's favoring really long videos. And the very next day, it's like the algorithm is favoring really short videos. So in any case, it's rough. It's rough, but it's something that I do because I love doing it. And I try not to worry about how many views something gets. I worked on that jack-o'-lantern episode for like 3 weeks. Really, 3 weeks of planning and shooting and editing. And it came out, I was like, this is going to be huge. And then we missed Halloween, which is like a big deal because, people are searching for jack-o'-lantern carving like up until about Halloween. And I was like, you know what? Every day's Halloween on the Aurelio Voltaire. It won't matter if it comes out in November. It mattered. But boy, I'm jumping ahead, aren't I? Because I shouldn't be talking about Gothic homemaking. But the New York Times thing was such a thrill. It was so cool. And, like a writer from the New York Times, very, very fantastic individual by the name of Molly Fitzpatrick, came by the lair. Like, we spent the day together shopping and looking at, I see Rithian Black is here. Rithian was quoted for that article. So thank you so much for your kind words in there. In any case, so yeah, the writer and I got together and we went and did some shopping. We went to like basically a lot of the places in my video, Spooky New York City. And then she came here, and Mayumi, she and I like chatted for a while. And then we went to Café de l'Enfer, that absinthe bar that I designed, that I helped design. And it, then the next day or the day after, a photographer came over, a very, very talented photographer by the name of Olivia Crum. She came over and she shot here in the lair. And I got to tell you something. A lot of really, really amazing things have come from this this New York Times article, but I'm still going to stand by the fact that the very best thing that came from it was that we were so terrified that the photographer was going to come and this place was going to be so cluttered and so messy and the pictures were going to be so awful that we spent a week like moving stuff into storage. I was cleaning in corners I didn't know existed. And so the apartments never looked better. And so we've tried to kind of maintain it that way. It's kind of not slipped too far. But yeah, in any case, so that New York Times was really, really exciting. And hopefully I'll have some fun stuff to report about some of the cool stuff that has transpired because of that incredible article. And now moving on, we are going to move on from the New York Times to merch, because there's new merch in the merch store. Many of you are going to be very, very happy to hear that after 2 years of it being sold out, my chest is now back on sale. Not my chest, you fools. This thing, this key pendant by Alchemy Gothic. It took me a long, long, long time. Let me see if I can get a good shot of this. How about like a thumbnail version? It took me a long time to get them to put this back into production. Thylight Jess, thank you so much. Yes, there will be vinyl. We're going to get to all that. Yes, there will be vinyl someday, but we're going to get to that. If I forget, remind me. Vinyl takes like a year now to make, unfortunately, so it's going to take a long time to get vinyl out, but it'll happen. Again, no questions, please, until the end. Please look at the ticker, because I typically don't even look at the comments, until I get through all of the, State of the Union address part of the show. In any case, key pendants are back. because of the pandemic that we were in, you know, like factories were in high demand and shipping was a problem. And so I didn't have these for 2 years, but Alchemy is kind enough to have made some for me. They are now in my web store. If you go to voltaire.net/store, you'll find a link to these. What else? Oh, and then this is new from the Lair Voltaire. Check this out. This is, again, none of this stuff's written backwards. It's just that's the way cameras work, apparently. This is a coffin-shaped incense burner, right? So it's got a little hole. Well, they both sides have little holes, and you can put a little incense stick in there. You can use this to kind of find a good. There we go. Sort of, well, whatever. There we go. You put your incense stick in there, and you can store incense sticks in here, and there's a magnetic closure. So you can just like store your incense in here. And these are also presently in the web store. Just put that anywhere, Voltaire. And then we have, of course, the Gothic Christmas stockings are back. This is an item from last year, but of course, you know, like once Christmas is over, people kind of stop buying things like Christmas stockings. They find a good light there. That's pretty good. These come in blood red, bloodbath red, and haunted mansion gray. And of course, it wouldn't be Lair if it didn't also come in dark side royal purple. So it comes in a royal purple as well, because yeah, there it is. The lighting in here is kind of making it look blue, but it is purple. So there's still time, if you live in the United States, probably, to get one of these and hang it above your mantle so that you can receive all sorts of spooky things in your stockings. And of course, you know what's in the web store, and we're going to get to this a lot later, of course, but the Black Labyrinth CD. Black Labyrinth Physical CDs are now available. You can order one right this very second in my web store, voltaire.net/store. And because the Black Labyrinth, oh, they come signed. Well, I only signed 300 of them. So, and I'm told that 150 of them sold day number 1 when we made these available like a day or two ago. So I don't know how long the signed ones are going to last for, but after the signed ones, there are some unsigned ones you can get. And there are 20 songs on this album. So there's 2 discs. And I don't know how well you can see that because of the glare, but there are 2 discs in there. There's one called Disc 1, and there's one called Disc 2, because I'm really clever like that. The Black Labyrinth, I can't believe it. It's finally out. It is finally out. And what else? Oh, you know what else? While you're there, you might want to pick up a signed Black Labyrinth poster. You have no idea how hard it is to sign these backwards like this. It says "It's only forever" in gold marker. I'm trying to find an angle that isn't completely obnoxious. It's so hard to. There we go. That's not too bad. It's only forever, like I said, in gold marker. So I signed. There's very few of these. I signed 100 of these and sent them to the web store. So I don't expect those are going to be in stock for very, very long at all. There's also a really, really cool Black Labyrinth t-shirt that's in the store. So that's what's going on in the web store. Coffin-shaped incense burner, check. Oh, the best of CDs. Well, yeah, I have a best of volume 1 and a best of volume 2. I do not know where they are, and I'm not going to go stand up and rummage through the lair to find it. But many of you may recall that at some point I put out an album called The Very Best of Aurelio Voltaire, Volume 2. And there's no Volume 1. And a lot of people were kind of surprised by that. And the reason being that I only owned the rights to like my more recent albums, like five or 6 albums. George says, just join the stream. Always good to see you doing well, Voltaire. By the way, we love the throne. Thank you. It's brand new throne in the Lair of Voltaire. In any case, thank you, George, by the way. So I made a best of volume 2, and the reason was that Project Records owned the rights to my first 5 albums. And so I wasn't really like in a position to put out that record because I didn't have that kind of control. So I just made a volume 2 and figured someday I'd make a volume 1. But last January, I got that contract expired and I got all those rights back. So I now control all the first 5 albums as well. So I made a volume 1. And so now in the web store, you can find volume 1 and volume 2. And they're more or less split into like the hits from my first 6 albums and the hits from my second 6 albums. There's some exceptions because some, volume 2, like I couldn't put the more recent out, whatever. It's not important. That's basically how it's split up. And they're double CDs like the Black Labyrinth. So each one of those volumes has 2 CDs in it. They have roughly 22 songs each. So, of course, you can expect to hear When You're Evil and Ex-Lover's Lover. And, oh, I forgot to mention, like, each one of these best ofs has 2 discs. And each disc they're separate. The songs are separated by mood. So one disc is like the upbeat, raucous stuff. So, like, on one disc, you might hear Day of the Dead and When You're Evil and The Vampire Club and Brains and Land of the Dead. And you're going to hear those kind of like upbeat, fun, spooky songs. And the other disc is if you're in a different kind of mood and you're more in sort of a mellow mood, you might hear Anniversary and All the Way Down and Underground and gosh, I don't remember what was on it from Boo Hoo. Oh, Then and Again, you're going to hear Crusade and Goodnight Demon Slayer. In any case, that's the way I split up the albums by mood. So you can put one disc in if you're having a Halloween party, and you can put another disc in if you're just kind of in the bath and you want to hear something a little bit more mellow. So in any case, so that's pretty much everything that's going on in the merch store. And that brings us to Gothical homemaking. Gothic homemaking, it's been a rough ride this year because Black Labyrinth ate up all of my time and most of my resources. So there really wasn't a lot of me left to make Gothic homemaking episodes. I somehow managed anyway to make a small handful of them. So, there was like best of Halloween home decor 2022 and spooky New York City, which is if you're coming to New York, because I just, being a spooky guy who lives in New York City, I get nonstop emails from people saying, I'm coming to New York City, like, what can you recommend? I better make an episode because I can't keep typing this stuff out. So it's a really, really great guide. My Gothic Mexico City video is a really big hit. Like, that one has a lot of views. So I'm hoping that people will catch on to this New York City one as well. And if you're coming to New York, there's some really, really cool places you're going to want to visit, and you can find them all in that episode. And then I did an episode on a health-themed absinthe bar that I helped design, and of course the How to Carve a Jack-o'-lantern episode, and last but not least, the very last Gothic homemaking episode of 2022. Just trying to create a little suspense there. Is called Our Scary Christmas Tree Decorations. And there's the lovely Mayumi Toyoda there holding a hand-blown glass ornament from the John Darien store. We made a really, really cool tree this year. I personally think it's the best one yet of the 3 years that we've been making spooky Christmas trees. And when is that going to air? Good question. Let me look at a calendar. I'm going to open a calendar because I haven't finished it yet. I'm still editing. People, that's what I'm talking about. These episodes take weeks to make. I'm still editing. All right, today's the 15th. How about Wednesday the 21st? Does that float your boat? So I'll have it done for you probably Wednesday the 21st. I think it'll be a nice like ramp up to Christmas, and I don't know. I think that's when it's going to come, which is like a practically. I mean, what day is it today? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 6 days from now. Maybe Tuesday. I don't know. next week for sure. Next week for sure. So I hope you will enjoy that. It is going to be the very, very last Gothic homemaking episode of all time until 2023. And then there'll probably be more. A little bit more suspense there. A little bit more suspense. And that brings us to our very last topic of the night, Black Labyrinth. The Black Labyrinth. I might need a little mood music for this. Maybe? Oh. Can I just take a moment to celebrate 3+ years of working on this album? Finally finished. Finally finished. You can now hear the entire record. Well, technically in half an hour. So let's talk a little bit about Black Labyrinth, shall we? But first, I really want to hear this very heroic part coming up. This is where the strings come in. So epic. This is such a joyous song to be able to celebrate the release of Black Labyrinth with. Reminds me of Jethro Tull. Yeah, okay. See that? Very kind of goblin core, as the kids call it these days. Shakina, thank you for your kind words. Well, you're going to hear all of Black Labyrinth very, very, very soon. So what do you want to know? You know what? I'll just give you my elevator pitch to start out with. But I'm pretty sure you all know this at this point. So Black Labyrinth is a 20-song musical adventure that I conceived, wrote, and recorded over the course of like 3.5 years, with 15 members of David Bowie's band and a whole bunch of guest artists, including members of My Chemical Romance, members of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, The Cog is Dead, Frenchie and the Punk, violinist extraordinaire Mia Asano, Allie the Piper, incredible bagpipe player, Ginny D, who I like to call a D&D songstress, but you know, she does more than that. She does like sea shanties and like kind of fantasy music. She's super talented. Which MCR members asking? Bryn, Merrill, Ray Toro. Ray Toro plays guitar in a song called Keep On Moving. Maybe I'll play you a little of it. Let's see, where's Ray? This is Ray here. Oh, gotta turn up the volume. Let's try it again. He's just doing open chords here. And it's time to wail. It is heroic, Carolyn. You are entirely correct. I was really going for heroic on this one.
Stand up, never give it what it wants. To tear you down, to crush your will, to break your heart, to reach inside your soul and tear your world apart. I
want to headbang, but I just don't have the hair for it. So that's Ray Toro's incredible guitar work on that. Dina Fanai from Trans-Siberian Orchestra. She's one of the singers and choir masters. She's also the choir master for the band Foreigner. Foreigner 4 was like one of the most epic albums of all time when I was growing up. Like everybody my age had that record. And she just recently did like all the choir work for them. The genuine joy on your face reminds me that we're not in the worst timetable. I'm hyped for the release and happy for your success. Thank you, Gooch. Thanks, Gooch. I appreciate it. Yeah, Foreigner 4 is really, really epic. And so she's their choir master, and she's an incredible singer. And she like arranged a lot of the choirs and sang a lot of the voices. And then on Keep On Moving, there's some really, really epic male choir. And like almost all the voices are Captain John Sprocket from The Cog is Dead. Man, he is one incredibly talented individual, very versatile and a really great voice. He can do super deep stuff, really high stuff, just an unbelievable singer. And now I'm getting a bunch of questions about Black Labyrinth, which I haven't entirely opened things up to questions, but you know what? We might as well. Let me do this. Let me go to my little banners here and where's my banners? Let's turn that off. Let's just make it official. So I'm getting a question here about Voltaire on Broadway from Barb. I wrote this as a musical. So now I'm singing all the songs because it's like my album, right? So this would be kind of like, I put like the carriage in front of the horse because I wrote a musical, and presumably like these songs should all be sung by different people playing different characters. But instead I recorded it as if it was like me covering the songs from the musical. Like if I did an album of Rocky Horror soundtrack and I just sang all the songs, it's kind of like the concept here. Yeah, Barb, I have to tell you, I sometimes picture myself sitting in the audience watching the Black Labyrinth on Broadway. And I just put on the album and I get in that mindset and I cry more times than is reasonable. I cry sometimes because there's really sad moments in the Black Labyrinth, and sometimes they're just like tears of joy. It is the same phenomenon as like when you sit in a movie theater to see a Star Wars film, presumably if you grew up with it like I did, and you just like see the title and you hear that da-da, 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 and you just get goosebumps because you know you're just about to enter this whole universe that you love so much. And that is how I feel while listening to the Black Labyrinth. When I tune everything else out, when I'm not sitting there like nitpicking, like this could have been better, this could have been, well, I really wanted this kind of instrument here, you know, whatever. It's like when I remove myself from the critical aspect, and I specifically picture myself watching this on Broadway, just tears. So who knows? I don't really imagine it'll ever be on Broadway, but man, that would make my life. Blood Phoenix, thank you so much. Thank you for the congratulations. John Chadwick, many congratulations. You've worked so hard on this. I have, John, indeed. And you guys, both of you guys in particular, have been along for the ride, which, you know, I really have to take a moment to thank the Academy. No, I'm just kidding. I need to thank my patrons on Patreon. Now, there's a lot of creators who spend a lot of time talking about Patreon, right? Because, you know, obviously it's like kind of like those PBS, you know, whatever those things were, telemarathons, you know, where they're like kind of in your face at all times, reminding you that the stuff that you're watching like wouldn't happen without the support of viewers like you know. And so there's a lot of creators who spend a lot of time like really doing these kind of like pledge drives, like join my Patreon, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. I'm less comfortable about, you know, constantly pitching the Patreon, but I'm super, super appreciative of the people who find my Patreon and join my Patreon. And let me just say that the Black Labyrinth simply would not exist. And if it existed, it would be nowhere near as grand as it is without my patrons on Patreon, because they paid for this record. to get made. This is the most expensive record I've ever made in my entire life. I mean, you might imagine like getting musicians who were like in Bowie's band, not inexpensive. You're not pulling in favors, like you're paying people top dollar. And those of you who know me know that I pay everyone, like I just don't believe in asking musicians to work for free. So I pay everyone, in the very least, what would be considered a living wage to work on my art, and the musicianship on this album is so incredible. The art for the album is so incredible. The engineering, the mastering, the mixing, all of that stuff is expensive. And if it was not for my patrons on Patreon, it just would not have happened. So thank you. And if you'd like to join my Patreon, you can find it right there. Anyway, let me take another question. Voltaire. Not a question, just saying, I'm so proud of you, and I hope, don't get away from me. And I hope to be in a spot to join your Patreon soon. And I'm looking forward to see you play in New York City again. Thank you, Horace. I should probably switch to, Grandpa Voltaire glasses mode if I have any hope of reading these comments. Harris. Thank you, Harris. And thank you, Sandor Milan. Thank you for making our day. Thank you, Sandor. Who's this over here? Okay. Let's see. Let's pick another question here from the Black Labyrinth pile. Can't wait to listen. Katie says, can't wait to listen to the album. Any second now. Why expensive ones? I don't know what that means. Cosmetics, beauty, and maturity with Evelyn. I don't really understand the question. I mean, are you saying I could have gotten inexpensive musicians? Probably, maybe. I don't choose musicians. It's a perfectly valid question, but I don't choose musicians by how cheap or inexpensive they are. I choose them by how much I want them to play on the record. So, if I hear somebody, all right, well, Mia Asano is a great example. Mia Asano, found her on TikTok, became a fan, really loved her playing, really wanted her to play on the album. So, it wasn't like, let me find somebody less expensive. It was like, no, I want her to play on the album. And then you have to kind of just figure out if you can afford it. Hey, there were people I couldn't afford. There's people who did not play on this album because I simply could not afford them. And that's just, it's just like anything else in life. There are things that you want. And if you can afford it, then you get it. And if you can't afford it, you're out of luck. And you just don't. Simple as that. Just like everyone else. A Dragon Among Roses says, I confess I really don't watch your videos and go to the concerts because they live in Canada, but I give to your Patreon because I know you're a hard worker and deserve the support. Thank you, Dragon. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. Okay, so Julius Walker says, when you wrote When I Said I Was Evil, right, King of Villains, how many Disney villain references did you make? I haven't written down a list of them, but it's lots, like every single line. There's a Disney section. I was thinking recently that if Disney comes after me, I can remove the Disney section. They're all in this one little section. I haven't made the edit yet to see if the song would still work, but I imagine it probably would still work. But I'm paying homage to Disney and to Disney villains, and there's this one section where that's why you can trust in me, just in me. That's Jungle Book. Because I've got friends on the other side. That's Facilier. You poor unfortunate souls, Ursula. Your diamonds in the rough, Jafar. And now, with your permission, I'm going to do my stuff, Oogie Boogie. No one can deny it. What I do, I am the best, Jack Skellington. When this hellfire, this dark fire I spill, it's Hunchback of Notre Dame. As a specimen, why? It's intimidating, yes. That's Gaston. If this don't scare you, no evil thing will. Cruella de Vil. So let's sound the drums of war. So let's sound the drums of war. That's oh god, Pocahontas. It's like music in the air. That's Oogie Boogie again. It's time to follow me. It's actually Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. So be prepared. That's Scar, of course, from The Lion King. Oh, c'est la vie, mon ami. That's oh my god, Moana, the big crab thing. Forgot his name. Oh, c'est la vie, mon ami. Black Sorcery is my dish of tea. That's oh god, what is her name? Mim. And then there's an instrumental part that's really like Night on Bald Mountain, because I wanted to get Chernabog in there somehow from Fantasia. So that's how I get Chernabog in there as well. And if you listen, you'll notice that the horns are playing different songs from each one of those films during that whole section. It is insane. It's completely insane. So hope that answered your question. It was probably more detailed than you were looking for. Ecclesia Mortis. What do you think of the show Has Been Hotel? I think it's really cool. I recently met a couple of the voice actors and one of the animators from that show at a convention at which I was in Florida. So that was cool. We're like, hey, I said, hey, because I get so many people saying, why aren't you singing songs for this show or doing voices on this show? So I asked them that same question. I just put it out there. I was like, hey, I want to be on the show. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll. I mean, I feel like I'm definitely a has-been enough to be on a show called Has Been Hotel. Okay. Some comments sometimes I just don't understand. But move on to one that I do understand. Do you and Mayumi plan to cut an album together? Says Edie. Well, actually, there's a Spanish album that was going to come out before Black Labyrinth, and it's basically like a bunch of my so-called hits translated into Spanish, and Mayumi will be singing on a lot of that. Beyond that, like I am not thinking about making any more records beyond that, because not to say that I won't, but it's like Black Labyrinth is so massive, cost so much, and took so long, and took just so much out of me. It was like so much work. I loved every second, but it was so much work that like walking up to someone and being like, so what's your next record going to be? Is a little bit like walking up to someone like right after Thanksgiving dinner and being like, what are you eating tomorrow? You're just like, oh, can I digest this first? So I would say she'll definitely be singing a lot on the Spanish record, and then beyond that, who knows? Aaron says, I love how the artwork of the creatures looks like something Froud could have come up with. Well, certainly, obviously Froud is a big inspiration, so that's not surprising. Musicians deserve to be paid. Hell yeah. They have a life too. They certainly do. That's why I always pay artists. I pay artists before I pay anybody else. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not the most responsible person in the world. And like, sometimes bills may not get paid like right away, but like, T-Mobile can wait. T-Mobile can wait, but somebody who recorded on my record, they get paid immediately so that they can go pay their T-Mobile. Can my high school do your musical? Shakina, I'm so glad that you asked that question, because there's a song, the very first song, The King is Dead, which has this incredible like marching band section in the middle and with a lead bassoon and some oboe, and then like the rest of the marching band around those instruments. And I think like I can see this being played by a high school band. In fact, I think a lot of this record is going to make like the band nerds, as I lovingly will refer to us, the band nerds, really excited. So yeah, I'm telling you, any high school that stages the Black Labyrinth musical, I will be there. I will be there to see it. I will fly there to see it. Great question. Oh no. So crazy says, Voltaire, I moved in the middle of this year and I think I lost the poster you signed for me in the move. Oh no. Well, unfortunately, I mean, you can get one from the web store. It'll be signed, but unfortunately it won't be personalized because the web store is in a different state. So the posters, I sign them here, they go over there, and then they ship out from there. But and I, as I might have mentioned, I need a vacation. I got to get out of here for a while before I lose my mind. Any updates on the black lipstick? Asks Carolyn. It's stuck. It's just stuck at the factory. Just same old problems that we've been experiencing for the last 2 years, where it's just like things are not, they just don't move as smoothly as they used to. And so it's stuck. We have the boxes. So like I have these really, really cool coffin boxes, but they're empty. When am I getting the lipsticks? I have no idea. It sure as hell ain't fall 2022 like it says on my website. I probably should change that. But thank you for asking. I hope to have those early 2023 if we get lucky. I'm trying to locate your necklace. Where is it being sold? Says Troy Anderson. Troy, if you go to voltaire.net/store, I think you'll find a listing for it. And if you don't find a listing for it, click on just about anything there. Let me see what's there. Let's find out what's there. Store. Okay, so the very first thing in the store is the Black Labyrinth CD. What happens if I click on that? If I click on it, I go to the US web store and I see the Black Labyrinth CD. Now, if I go up to categories and hit shirts and apparel, no. Music, how about just all products? All right, so now I'm looking at all products, and there's pages and pages and pages of worthless crap. I mean, amazing stuff. Is it in here? What? I'm not seeing it. What? Oh, man, for real? Oh, come on now. Come on now. It's supposed to be in here. Man, toys. Let's see about accessories. Candle line, other items. It's not live. It is not live. Someone's about to get yelled at. Oh man. All right. Okay. Let me get out of here because I'm looking at something else. I should need to be looking at you guys. There we are. I'm back. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out to me. It is not live. I guess the changes were made, but they weren't made live. No, I can't call them now. It's it's midnight, just about. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out to me. I'm going to have that fixed first thing in the morning. Troy, thank you. Tomorrow. I'll have it up tomorrow for sure. Brazil when? I don't know. When somebody flies me to Brazil, probably. Not Guico. That's the name, not Guico. I'd love to play in Brazil. Brazil's one of those places I would have. You know what? When the Spanish album comes out, let's say like a year from now, maybe Central and South American tour. That'd be cool. Hey, Voltaire, what do you think about Hell of a Boss? Oh, I think we covered that already. When does the Spanish album come out? When I record it. If I had to guess, I would say 2024, but it might be out. You know what? Probably fall 2023 because it's done. Like I literally just need to record my voice and Mayumi's voice, but everything else is finished. Everything else is ready to go. Nice specs. Thanks, Gad. Hey, Voltaire, how are you so handsome? Oh, well, I don't know that I agree with you, but I will accept the compliment and I thank you. And I really wish I could answer that with what my neighbor in Mexico City says when he's asked why he's so handsome, but it's dirty. I can't say it. I can't say it here in polite company. Rose says, I love the background setup. So killer. Thanks. It is a new throne. Check it out. Brand new throne in the lair of Voltaire. The last one bit the dust, so I gave it to Tuesday, our camera person. I was going to either have it reupholstered or like just put it on the street. And she was like, no, give it me. So I did. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Rithian Black says, hello, Voltaire. Congratulations on completing the Black Labyrinth. To what you said earlier, it is a thankless job doing what you love, but when you find people who love your work, it is sweeter than any rum or cigar. That reminds me, I need a cigar tonight. I want to thank you, Rithian, for reminding me. I don't have any, but I smoked the one you gave me. Thank you very much. It was fantastic. And I smoked it, and it was like I was in a bind too, because I didn't smoke it right away. It was in my bag for like maybe a couple more shows. And then like I was just somewhere desolate and weird one night by myself, and I was like, man, you know what would be really cool right now? A cup of coffee and a nice cigar. And I was like, oh, I have that one Rithian gave me. And it really came in just at the right moment. Natasha says, I'm a free vocalist, Voltaire. Cool. I might need everybody I hire from now might have to work for free after Black Labyrinth. Incidentally, I don't expect to make any of my money back. I know that sounds weird. You probably get, you know, I notice people don't typically want to know about the financial aspects of making art. I think it like really bores people who aren't, you know, the ones making the art. But I got to tell you, I have no expectations of ever seeing any of that money back. But, you know, like the patrons donating it, like, hey, use this to make art. So I don't feel bad about it. I'm not like, hey, this is an investment and I'm going to make tons of money from this. I'm just going to call it money well spent. Money will trickle in. You know, many of you have gone out and purchased the physical CD. Many of you have gone to my Bandcamp page and like purchased the digital album. And I'm very, very grateful. And believe me, all that money that comes in, that's now going to like rent and bills and making more Gothic homemaking and making more music. So it's definitely appreciated, but I don't ever expect to turn a profit on the Black Labyrinth. And you know what? I don't care, because I'm just glad it exists. It is pretty epic. Yes, Cindy says, I see the Black Labyrinth gave you wings. It did indeed. I love that it looks like I'm just like a big giant devil sitting in this thing. I think it's so cool. Me he estado preguntando, tu orejas son puntiagudas, says Baltazar Mendez. Yes, my ears are pointy. They are naturally pointy. They're naturally pointy. They're not naturally pointy, but I had an operation. I straight up went somewhere and had somebody chop up my ears because I've always wanted to have pointy ears. You know, maybe I should have answered that in Spanish, since you wrote it in Spanish. Maybe you don't speak English. Sí, mis orejas son puntadas así. Tuve una operación, créelo o no lo crea. Y lo peor de la operación es que no fue hecho por un doctor, así que no se pudo usar anestesia. Así que tuve que solamente como morder una billetera. Pero ya. Sí funcionó. Me gustan muchos. Uh-oh. That is my alarm. It is 11:55. That's to remind myself to go to Bandcamp and to because everywhere else in the world the album just gets released, you know, at midnight. But on Bandcamp I have to physically go and set it, you know, to go from pre-order to here it is. It's officially available. It was a good idea at the time, says, what was your fondest memory apart from finishing in making the Black Labyrinth? There's so many, honestly. There's so many. A really funny phenomenon about working with the Bowie guys is that, you know, everybody was super professional and everybody was super nice, you know. So just, I mean, there were a couple people who were neither professional nor nice, and they just didn't play on the record. But everybody who played on the record was just really, really cool and really, really present, like really there to just like, what do you need? What do you want to hear? You know, they, of course, they brought their artistry to Bowie's record. So I wasn't about to tell them, play this. Like, I want to hear what their ideas are. I want to hear what they would have done, you know, like if they walked in to record with Bowie, they're gonna bring their ideas. Like I wanted them to do exactly the same thing. So everybody was just so cool and like just really into what they were doing. Like nobody came in like, you know, and acted like they were there for a paycheck. You know, like everybody was really fun to work with. But a really fun phenomenon was that after, you know, maybe like half an hour or so, or like an hour or two in the studio, almost every single one of them would like completely unsolicited would bring up David Bowie, and they would share a story about David Bowie. You know, like we just like sitting there like drinking coffee, like in between takes, and you know, like listening to what they had recorded. They'd be like, you know, David Bowie liked to read the newspaper while we were recording, and he would like just he was like really curious about everything, and he would just be like learning about things he was curious about. You know, they would just share stories about Bowie, and it was so cool to be there, like just hearing all of these stories that people had to share about their experiences working with David Bowie without me saying a thing. And I would be like, so what was he like? Tell me all about him. Like just didn't have to do that. I got to hear a lot of really cool Bowie stories. And then another really funny phenomenon was that anybody whose space I went to record, well, the very first person I worked with where I went to their studio, you know, we're sitting there talking, and after a little while they just go, that chair there is where David used to sit. And I wasn't really sure what to do with that. You know, I was just like, oh, just kind of like looked very respectfully at the chair. And then I recorded with someone else in their space. And after a couple of sessions, you know, they kind of turned to me and they were like, David used to sit in that couch when we'd be recording. And I'm like, oh, and just kind of like look lovingly over at the couch. And the third time it happened where somebody was like, this is where David used to have, well, that will be my chair today. And like, but it was like really interesting that people really kind of, I feel, and I haven't really thought about this. This is really the first time I'm consciously thinking about this, but I think a lot of the folks who worked on this record who were, you know, bandmates of David Bowie's, like at some point or other while being there, realized that this has something to do with David, you know, and like channeled memories of him and channeled experiences with him. And so, you know, as corny as it sounds, it almost felt like he was there, you know, he was there in their hearts. And so that was a really beautiful experience for me. So I'm going to go with that. No one's asked me that before. Pastel Polar Beers. Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask your rules for giving fan art. Any specific size? No, there's no rules for fan art. There's never any rules for fan art. I just ask that you don't send me files, because then, you know, like my email is like gets filled up with people sending me like, here's this 90 megabyte drawing I did of you. And it's like, lovely, but I can't be having, you know, not being able to get other email because my inbox is full. So if you go to voltaire.net, you'll see there's a FAQ, and frequently asked questions. Specifically, there's a question about fan art, and it's like, I love to see the fan art, but I like it when people post it somewhere and just send me a link so I can look at it. And I can, you know, take a screenshot and download it, and, you know, so I can keep it. But no physical art gets sent to the lair anymore because there's nowhere to put anything, and it just goes directly into storage, which I find heartbreaking. You know, that somebody worked so hard on it, especially if it's original art, and then they send it to me, and I'm like, or like they'll give it to me at a show, and I'm like, this is going straight into storage. It's just heartbreaking. It should be somewhere where people can see it. So at shows, I'll just ask people like, can I sign it and you can keep it and put it on the wall, and then like send me a picture of it, you know, so I can admire it on a screen, since there's nowhere to put it here. So yeah, there's not a lot of rules. Corel says, it's been a year of seeing people I personally admire reaching their goals and even past them. I'm really glad to see you happy, and I hope next year I can at least start in the pathway to reach mine. And you will. This is how you do it, incidentally. This is how it happens. Nobody wakes up and says, I reached my goal, without having worked tirelessly on it. So all of those times where you're just exhausted and, oh my God, it's 12:01. All right, so give me a second. All of those times where you're just absolutely exhausted and you're thinking this is going nowhere. And believe me, you always have those days. Always have those days where you're like, this is just going nowhere. And why am I bothering? And no one cares about this. No one's going to like this. All of those thoughts that you have, you just have to stick in there. Release pre-order now. Release pre-order now. Update. New album. There it is. Hey, if you pre-ordered the Black Labyrinth on Bandcamp, it's now yours to listen to in its entirety. Thank you for your patience. It is now 12:02 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. The Black Labyrinth is officially released. A toast. A toast. Ooh, oh my God. I was reading. This is the problem with reading questions. I read one question at a time and just like scroll. And then I realize there's like 500 more comments. So Blood Phoenix, yes, there will be Black Labyrinth karaoke in time. There will be an instrumental album as well, like I've been doing with my other albums. Michael Greco says, looking forward to Black Labyrinth. I truly feel it will be your magnum opus. The Goblin King Bowie will be flattered and proud. I sure hope so. So many questions and comments. I'm so sorry, guys, that I can't physically possibly get to everybody. Kylie says, got to see you in St. Louis this year for the first time. Hope to see you there next year. You will. I do love performing at the Crack Fox. And Rithian says, also thank you for recommending me to speak to Miss Fitzpatrick. She was wonderful and absolute joy to talk to. Hope for your success in your future. And HJ says, muchas gracias por tu arte y el tiempo que inviertes tanto en música como en Gothic homemaking. Siempre ayuda. Siempre ayuda, you know, I don't know why I'm trying to do this without my glasses. Siempre ayuda a alegrar los días malos. Mucho éxito. Muchas gracias. HJ. Muchas gracias. Oh my God. And I just lost my screen. There it is. There it is. So many questions. Janet says, congrats. So proud of you. Think I'm going to Seattle, Portland to see you in April. I want to visit every state before I'm 50, and I'm using your tour schedule as a dart to throw at the map. You are going to be so sick of my show by the end of 2023. But I welcome you. I welcome you to come to all of the shows. Ladies, oh my God. Thousands, I lied. There's not hundreds of comments. There are thousands of comments and questions. Oh my God. Oh my God. Congratulations. I cannot wait to hear the album and read the book. It says of Cats and Crepes. I wish I could get to everybody. I'm so sorry that I can't. A toast to the Black Labyrinth. Ladies and gentlemen, if I can do it, you can do it. I didn't wake up and have a 20-song musical of this epic proportion pop up on my doorstep. It was made because I had a crazy idea that seemed completely implausible, and I just started working on it. Like thinking, I could build a tunnel through this mountain, and then you just grab a spoon, and you just start picking away. And as I said earlier, there are countless days where you're only 3 feet into this mountain and you've been working for months and you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? No one cares about this. This is for nothing. And you just have to keep on moving. Like it says in the Black Labyrinth, you just have to keep on moving and you have to keep moving forward, and you will succeed if you just keep at it long enough. And if you're serious and you're not afraid of hard work and sacrifice, sacrifice. Like, I'm going to spend this money on these artists who I need to help me achieve my vision. I'm going to spend this money on this studio that I need that has the right equipment to achieve my vision, instead of spending that money on, I don't know, other things. Sacrifice, hard work. It's been a long, long road to get here. Thank you again to my patrons on Patreon. Without you, we would not be here. I am now going to, well, I was going to say I'm not going to listen to the Black Labyrinth, but truth be told, I'm probably going to go to a bar where they have a jukebox and I'm going to play all of the Black Labyrinth. That's what I'm going to do. And I'll probably just be sitting at the bar by myself, but I am going to listen to it all in public probably so that it can really sink in that it's real. Margaret says, didn't have a chance to get to talk to you at dark, but I bought the necklace with my brother's ashes as he introduced me to you when we played Adventure Quest. He took his own life in October 2013, so I wanted to bring him with me. Thank you so much for everything. Margaret, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for coming to Dark. Dark, it was a really, really great night, but it was very, very unfortunate that it's like it takes place in an Asian restaurant as opposed to like a nightclub. And very shortly after the show, we were all, asked to leave. And normally, I don't leave that merch booth until I have spoken to every single person who comes to the show. So I'm very, very sorry I didn't get to see you in person, but I'm certain that I will be in the area again. In fact, it's highly likely that there'll be a Boston show since there wasn't one this year. And hopefully we can have this conversation in person and maybe raise a glass and drink a toast to your brother's memory. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Please, while I have your attention, go to Spotify. Save or like or share or add Black Labyrinth to a playlist. Engage with it in some way to fool the algorithm into thinking people care about this record. I'm kidding. Engage with the Black Labyrinth in some way. Give it a like, share it, add it to a playlist. Do something that will let the streaming platforms of the world know that people care about this record. And then maybe they will share it with others. And who knows, maybe the Black Labyrinth, if it gets enough attention, will be on Broadway someday. Thank you again, everybody. I'll see you soon. Don't forget, in just a couple of days, just maybe 5 or 6 days, there will be the last Gothic homemaking episode of the year. We welcome you into the lair of Voltaire for our scary Christmas celebration. See you then, everybody. Cheers.